Hare Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. We're reading from Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 33, entitled Activities of Kapila, verse 15. Prajapate Kardamasya
long press.
There we go. Prajapate Kardamasya Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam Svagarhastyam Anopamyam Prartyam Vaimanikerapi Prajapate Kardamasya Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam Svagarhastyam Anopamyam Prartyam Vaimanikerapi Prajapate Kardamasya Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam Svagarhastyam Anopamyam Pratyam Vaimanikerapi Prajapate Kardamasya Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam Swagarhastyam Pratyam Vaimanikerapi Prajapate Kardamasya Tapo Yoga Vrijimbitam Swagarhastyam Pratyam Vaimanikerapi Prajapate Kardamasya Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam Svagahasya Manopamyam Pratyam Vaimanikerapi Prajapate Kardamasya Tapo Yoga Vijrimbitam Svagarhasya Manopamyam Pratyam Vaimanikerapi Prajapate, of the progenitor of mankind. Kardamasya, Kardama Muni. Tapa, by austerity. Yoga, by yoga. Vijrimbitam, developed. Svagarhastyam, his home and household paraphernalia. Anopamyam, unequaled. Pratyam, enviable. Vaimanikai, by the denizens of heaven. Api, even. Translation. The home and household paraphernalia of Kardama, who was one of the Prajapatis, was developed in such a way by dint of his mystic powers of austerity and yoga that his opulence was sometimes envied by those who travel in outer space in airplanes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The statement in this is that Kardama Muni's household affairs were envied even by persons who travel in outer space refers to the denizens of heaven. Their airships are not like those we have invented in the modern age, which fly only from one country to another. Their airplanes were capable of going from one planet to another. There are many such statements in the Srimad Bhāgavatam from which we can understand that there were facilities to travel from one planet to another, especially in the higher planetary systems. And who can say that they are not still traveling? The speed of our airplanes and space vehicles is very limited. But, as we have already studied, Kardama Muni traveled in outer space in an airplane which was like a city, and he journeyed to see all the different heavenly planets. That was not an ordinary airplane, nor was it ordinary space travel. Because Kardama Muni was such a powerful mystic yogi, his opulence was envied by the denizens of heaven. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Panchatatvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktyakhyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Divyad Brindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagar Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestali Di Sevyamano Smarami. So thank you all for coming to this Srimad Bhāgavatam class, and I beg for the blessings of the devotees, especially the senior devotees, that I can say something that's pleasing to Krishna and all the Vaishnavas. So in context of where we're reading, Lord Kapila Dev has just finished instructing his mother Devahuti on the glories of devotional service, and now he has left home. And Mother Devahuti is now taking up the process of devotional service very seriously. And she's performing intense austerities, like Tivra Bhakti, intense devotional service. And it is said that she remained home in this grand palace of Kardama Muni, which is envied by the denizens of heaven. Now, how is it that one can perform austerity in such an opulent place? We may say that we live a much simpler life. So for us, maybe we are performing austerities just because our situation is simpler, and she has all this opulence. But actually, it's much harder to perform austerities when one is faced with so much comfort and opulence. She has the choice not to, but she chooses to perform austerities. And it said in a previous verse that because of her life of austerity with Kardama Muni at the beginning of their marriage, that then it was natural for her to take up austerity now at the end of life, even though they had enjoyed so much comfort during the marriage also. So this verse is an interesting verse because it speaks so much about flying planes and things that I don't have any understanding of or realization of, and like space travel. And Srila Prabhupada speaks about that quite often. But I decided I'll speak on something that I do have very great experience on, and that is envy. Because it said here that the denizens of heaven envied the palace of Kardama Muni. And they have such great opulence themselves. So why are they envious of Kardama Muni? It's because in material consciousness, even if you have so much, if someone else has something slightly better, you're envious. We all feel it, and we forget what we have. We forget our own blessings, and we look at another's. So, so I can be the first to profess I have great experience in this feeling of envy. Is it just me? Is it just me? Is there anyone else who experiences envy here? Okay, I thought it was just me. So I thought I'm the only one in the material world. Everybody else is in the spiritual world. Like envy is something we don't often speak of because it's embarrassing. You know, it's where we really have to introspect and reflect on ourselves. And this tendency of envy is our qualification for material existence. That's what brought us here. That's the reason we're in this world, that we were envious of Krishna, of his position of being the center, that he gets to enjoy. Why can't I enjoy? I want to experience that same enjoyment of being the center. And then as soon as we have that mentality, we're immediately in material consciousness. And Krishna very mercifully gives us a world in which we can try to be that enjoyer and try to be the center of existence. And so we are envious of Krishna, and then that envy also extends to other living entities. But envy is very dangerous, because what is the result of envy? In one of the verses in Srimad Bhāgavatam, it says that envy leads to loss of intelligence. In the pastime of Maharaj Chitraketu, when his wife Krita Dyuti had a son, all his co-wives were very envious of her. And it said, because they were not able to give Chitraketu a son. And it said that they were burning in verse 6:14-43, it says that they were burning in envy, and then they lost their intelligence and administered poison to the son. So envy is extremely dangerous and can make people do things that they really that they know they shouldn't do. And we all have heard of the 6 enemies which affect us: lust, anger, pride, madness, illusion, and envy. And from all those 6, it said that envy is one that you cannot engage in devotional service to Krishna. The others we can. Does anyone know how we can engage anger in devotional service? Anybody? Protecting the Harinam party, yes. That's a very nice way to engage our anger in devotional service. Just being angry with the Mayavadis, trying to defeat them. Being angry with the atheists, trying to defeat them. That's one way we can engage that propensity. Does anyone know how we can engage lust in Krishna service? Raise Krishna conscious kids, yes. And greed. How can we engage greed in Krishna service? That's good. Doing a lot for Krishna to engage lust. And greed? Okay, yes, greedy. To be greedy to hear about the topics of Krishna in the company of devotees, and to be greedy for devotional service, and for the association of saintly devotees. So these other enemies we can actually engage, but envy we cannot. So envy is something that we have to root out. It can't be purified like the others. And the spiritual world is free from envy. So in order for us to go back to the spiritual world, we have to become free from envy. In Srimad Bhāgavatam 7:15-8, the verse says, "Persons who want to advance in superior religion are advised to give up all envy of other living entities, whether in relationship to the body, words, or mind. There is no religion superior to this." So that's already just telling us exactly what we need to do to advance in spiritual life. And in a community of devotees, even with devotees, we're faced with envy very often. Her Grace Devaki Devidasi explores this topic very thoroughly. And I just read, she has books on sheltering relationships, and this topic comes up a lot. But I just read one article about it, and it was about envy between equals. So she spoke about the 3 relationships we all have. That's with seniors, juniors, and equals. And she said that with juniors, it's very easy. The relationship is not difficult. They look up to you, and you can feel important. You can feel like, I'm senior, I'm giving them some Krishna consciousness. So that relationship is not challenging to the false ego. And she said our relationship with seniors is also very easy, because we get the association of seniors. They give us so much care, so much mercy, and we can feel kind of important that we're associated with such a senior devotee. And out of their compassion, they're giving us so much. So our false ego is not challenged much there either. But with equals, it is very difficult. She said it is certainly the most purifying of the relationships because of this tendency to be envious of each other. And said that that relationship is almost always contaminated by envy and the desire to be slightly superior. Either one is trying to be slightly superior to the other. There's this competitive spirit in it. And she gave the example of 2 preachers. When 2 preachers come together, 2 big preachers, it's almost like they want to one-up each other sometimes. In the spirit of sharing Krishna consciousness, one will say, I've done such and such. I did lots of preaching and lots of Ratha Yatras, and I took many people on parikram. What have you done? And then The other one will say, oh, I've been preaching in Africa, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. But if that spirit of envy is there, it will be just slightly trying to be better than the other. And she also spoke about how two expert cooks in the kitchen can sometimes be disastrous. If you have two really amazing cooks. If you have one cook and a helper, it's easy because there's one person in charge and the other one just listening. But two amazing cooks both have their own ideas of what's going to be most pleasing to Guru and Krishna, and they clash. And the same with two expert deity dressers on the altar, you know? Both have their own ideas, and it's that competitive spirit comes. And she also said that it's very difficult to invite an equal into your circle of influence because there's this fear that they will be more appreciated than you amongst your people. And then she spoke about when we have relationships between equals where there's no envy, there's this beautiful spirit of friendship. It's like camaraderie in service, it's teamwork. And she said there's a different kind of competition. It's both people are trying to be inferior. Actually, when you see that someone else has the same skills, you know, same level of Krishna consciousness as you, the same services, and then you think, wow, let me put them forward. Let me engage them. Let them speak. Let them sing. Let them perform all the activities. And you want them to really be appreciated. And then the other person feels the same way about you. So it's that camaraderie and spirit of friendship is really beautiful. But it only exists when there's no envy. And I was reflecting that sometimes we find that if we're unable to keep friendships with equals, like if we have a recurring pattern of not being able to make friends, then it's almost like we need to recognize that it's probably our mood is being contaminated by the subtle envy. And what is the opposite of envy? Appreciation, exactly. So I was watching this incredible lecture by His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshav Swami, and I'll probably send it in the group later because it was so amazing. But he was speaking about community of love. It's a series of lectures, but I just watched the first one. And he was describing the community of love that's present in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the relationships amongst the devotees and how relevant it is to us because we are not actually just reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are living the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We can relate to it. This is very close to us. So it's actually showing an amazing example of the perfect community of love, which is attainable here. I know Kadambakanana Swami would speak about community of love so often as one of his major themes, and I'd always, in my mind and even verbally sometimes, I'd always protest thinking, this is not possible. This is the material world. We're all conditioned souls. So I don't believe in it. And he would just leave me in my ignorance thinking, okay. But his point was that when we reach up to the pure devotees in the spiritual world and we bring that mood and spirit down, then we can actually have that community of love, like what's showing in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's not an ascending process where we just try to develop nice material qualities and think that's going to help us. It's really that we need that spiritual advancement to reach up and bring it down. And actually, Srila Prabhupada wanted the Krishna consciousness movement to be a community of love. In Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 13, verse 11, this is the verse. Sometimes the living entity is busy counteracting the natural disturbances of freezing cold, scorching heat, strong wind, excessive rainfall, and so forth. When he is unable to do so, he becomes very unhappy. Sometimes he is cheated in business transactions one after another. In this way, by cheating, living entities create enmity among themselves. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, this is an example of the struggle for existence, the attempt to counteract the onslaught of material nature. This creates enmity in society, and consequently, society is filled with envious people. One person is envious of another, and this is the way of the material world. The Krishna consciousness movement aims at creating an atmosphere of non-envy. Of course, it is not possible for everyone to become Krishna conscious, but the Krishna consciousness movement can create an exemplary society wherein there is no envy. So that is the goal that Srila Prabhupada wanted for all of us to experience. And in that seminar by Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj, it said that healthy communities or communities of love have a few different values that he was pointing out. One was appreciation, which we've understood to be the opposite of envy. And it's easy to understand, because if we see something that we envy about someone, it's actually something that we appreciate. We're noticing something good in them, but we're kind of trying to still be in the center. Envy means I see something good in you, but it's affecting me because I want to be in the center. If we take ourselves out of the center and it's just about them, then you can just appreciate them. Like, wow, what great qualities this Vaishnava has. And so we can turn envy into appreciation in that way. And also, sometimes we undervalue others because they do something different from us. So we try to think, I'm superior because I can do X, Y, and Z. But they do A, B, and C that I cannot do. But I don't value the A, B, and C. I just focus on what I can do. So in that way, we just put people into a box and expect them to just only do what's important to me. So appreciation helps us to really see the value that everybody is adding. And then the natural mood will just immediately become lighter and wonderful for everyone when there's appreciation. Albert Einstein wrote, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it is stupid." So that's what happens when we don't appreciate. When we try to fit everyone into that box that we want, then it's like we're expecting a fish to climb a tree, just because a monkey can climb a tree. But everyone has different natures, everyone has different abilities, and appreciation helps to bring out those abilities. And so we shouldn't measure others to our standards. And Vaisheshika Prabhu has this beautiful quote that says, "What we appreciate, appreciates." So that means that when we appreciate devotees, they will increase in they'll grow. The qualities they have will grow because we're appreciating them. And then they'll have more to appreciate. So it's all around a very positive experience. Another value of a community of love is encouragement. In that lecture, Keshav Maharaj spoke about how everybody needs encouragement. Arjuna needed encouragement from Krishna. He just needed the words of the Bhagavad Gita to encourage him to continue his fight, which he had given up on. And Hanuman had forgotten his own strength, but he needed that encouragement from Jambavan to remember his own strength. Srila Prabhupada needed encouragement from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur to take on this mammoth task of preaching in the Western world. And we can see how Srila Prabhupada encouraged his disciples so expertly in doing their preaching work. I particularly focus on the 17-book Chaitanya Charitamrita marathon that the devotees did, because it seemed impossible. They actually said impossible. And Srila Prabhupada said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. And he gave them so much of inspiration and encouragement that they were able to just do the impossible by satisfying that desire of his, fulfilling his instruction. So we see how important it is to encourage. There's some leadership gurus that say that you should try to catch your people doing something right. Generally, we want to catch everyone doing something wrong and point it out. But if you catch people doing something right, then that creates such a nice mood. I remember when I first came here, I noticed Gopal Champu Prabhu was doing that. He was going around just encouraging everyone, and I thought, that's impressive, that he was finding things to glorify about devotees. So encouragement makes a thriving community like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it allows us to see the potential in everyone. And another aspect of a thriving community is empowerment. So Keshav Maharaj was speaking about, there's 2 prime ministers of England, and he said that when you spoke to one of them, when you left the room, you felt like that's the smartest guy in the world. And when you spoke to the second one and you left the room, you felt like I'm the smartest guy in the world. Not because that prime minister isn't smart, but because he made you feel so smart, like you can do anything. He empowered you and encouraged you instead of taking it on himself. So, and in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have so many examples of how Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, was empowering his associates. He empowered Srila Rupa Goswami with the highest understanding of devotional service and made him the Rasacharya, even though he came to taste the mellows of Srimati Radharani's love for him. He allowed Rupa Goswami to be the Rasacharya. And today is the most auspicious disappearance day of Srila Rupa Goswami. And I was just thinking, reflecting about how in the Sat Goswami Astika it said, the 6 Goswamis are Dhira Dhira Jana Priyo Priyakaro, Nirmatsaro Pujito. They are popular with the gentle and the ruffians because they are not envious of anyone. So they do not possess this quality of envy. And that's what makes them attractive to everybody. And that's actually what we're trying to be as devotees. Because we want to share Krishna consciousness with everyone, we want to be popular with the ruffians and the gentle. There shouldn't be anybody that's excluded from Krishna consciousness. So Srila Rupa Goswami is a very great example, and he's given us so much. He is the Abhideya Acharya. He is his deities are Radha Govinda. He installed Radha Govinda in Vrindavan that then got taken to Jaipur. And our Radha Govinda were installed in Jaipur. So we should feel a very deep connection with Srila Rupa Goswami and his book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which outlines the process of devotional service. Because he's the Acharya of Abhideya, which is the process of devotional service. So he was empowered by Lord Chaitanya, as Ram Roy Prabhu read this morning, the beautiful verse describing how Lord Brahma was empowered by Krishna and Rupa Goswami was empowered by Lord Chaitanya. And another devotee that Lord Chaitanya empowered was Haridas Thakur to be the Namacharya. And even though Lord Chaitanya came to distribute the holy names, he allowed Haridas Thakur to be the Namacharya instead of himself. So that's empowerment. And that creates a very lively community where you see the value in others, and that also roots out this tendency of envy, because instead of seeing someone doing something good and trying to pull them down, you actually see what they're doing right and you let them run and thrive and flourish with it. You give them the facility to take what they have and expand it. And another point that Keshav Maharaj made was about spiritual strength, that Haridas Thakur was able to tolerate provoking situations because he has deep spiritual strength. He went through sickness, suffering, and he was faced with sense gratification. His suffering was being beaten in 22 marketplaces. His sense gratification was when Maya Devi herself came to lure him away from chanting his rounds. But he did not stop chanting for anything. And the point is that if you can continue with all these distractions with no diminishing of your enthusiasm and connection, then you have spiritual strength. And when there's strong devotees, the whole atmosphere rises, the whole community rises. And Krishna is more personally active. And when there's spiritual strength, then all the good qualities will naturally come. All the qualities of being encouraging, appreciating, being inspiring, empowering, that will follow from spiritual strength. Then Vaishnav etiquette and culture will be followed, because when you have spiritual strength, you can tune in to how people understand things. You tune into how to interact with people such that nobody is disturbed. All of these things come from spiritual strength. And a great service attitude, because everyone is grateful for what they're receiving in the community, and therefore they want to give back. So when we're spiritually strong, it's more like we're all giving, but everyone is receiving so much more. And finally, in Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 29, verse 15, Krishna is speaking to Uddhava, and he says, "For him who constantly meditates upon my presence within all persons, the bad tendencies of rivalry, envy, and abusiveness, along with false ego, are very quickly destroyed." In the purport, it says, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada write, "We conditioned souls tend to feel rivalry towards our equals, envy toward our superior, and the desire to belittle our subordinates. These contaminated propensities, along with their very basis, false ego, can be quickly vanquished by meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead within every living being." So that's a solution to combat this disease of envy, to appreciate that Krishna is in everybody's hearts, and therefore whether someone is junior, senior, or equal, they have Krishna in their heart. It says here that with juniors, it's easy to belittle them, but we won't if we see that Krishna is in their heart. With seniors, it's easy to envy, want to be them, but we can't if we see Krishna in their heart. And with equals, we have that competitiveness, that rivalry. But if we see Krishna in their heart, then that will also diminish. So these are just some thoughts I had about this topic, but I'm eager to hear from anybody else who has comments, questions, experiences to relate. Ram Roy Prabhu, if you have words to share.
That was a statement from the 11th canto, and the purport mentioned, but there's a longer version in the 4th canto, Maharaj Peter. Prabhupada, writing the purport, says that these are the root cause of all of our problems, is that when we see someone more qualified than us, then we become envious. When we see someone equal with us, then we become proud of our activities and want to advertise ourselves as better. And when we see someone subordinate or inferior to us, we want to lord it over them and put them in a state of anxiety. But rather, a devotee, he sees someone superior, he becomes very, very eager to serve that person or to hear from that person. When we see our equals, we want to make friendship with them. And when we see someone inferior or lesser or junior to us, we become enthusiastic to elevate them to a higher position. So if we do this, then we conquer over envy, and ultimately that's how we can make this a better world, make the spiritual world descend here. So you can very nicely describe, even Krishna himself wants to empower his devotees. He wants the devotees to get the credit One time, Srila Prabhupada was asked, well, if Lord Chaitanya, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could have spread his movement all over the world himself. Prabhupada in that context said yes, but he left the work for me to get the credit for. So even ourselves, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, there's so many fill in the blanks, there's so much more work to do. And Krishna sees that if we're completely loyal and loving, appreciative, adherent to all the instructions that Srila Prabhupada gave, then he will empower us to continue the glory of Srila Prabhupada. But as soon as we think that I want to take something separate, I want to become famous on my own, then everything is spoiled and ruined. Prabhupada writes in regard to Lord Chaitanya, this is going in and out, ordering Lord Nityananda to go and spread the Krishna consciousness movement vigorously throughout Bengal. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas and residing in Orissa, Jagannath Puri. So anyway, Prabhupada writes in that section that those who are true to the service of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda can even excel them by their grace. You could arguably, Srila Prabhupada, by statistics and observation, did more to spread the Krishna consciousness movement than Lord Chaitanya himself. But the truth is understood by those who are engaged in loving service. And back to that original point that Krishna wants to see his devotees more glorious than he himself.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Such amazing points.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So it's just a comment. There's one book who Srila Sri Gaur Govinda wrote. It's called Envy, the Competitor of Divine Love. And then they mention there that envy starts when we have lost the desires, because it's kind of like we want to satisfy something specifically, and then when we not be able to do that is when that kind of seed start to spray in our heart, and then becomes an obstacle for everything in your life, like for your relationship with Krishna. So I really like the point you was making about like we need to be mindful how we, especially treating the bodies, how we treat each other, how is our intention. If we see some contamination in ourselves, immediately take responsibility and recognize probably I can create a very bad effect if I act in such a way that just make me more far from Krishna, and we want to be more close to Krishna. So thank you so much for your class.
Thank you for that comment. It is true, like whenever I feel envy taking over, I feel like disgusting. Like you just feel like contaminated, like, oh, I don't want this in my mindset. It's very important to like introspect, like what is that feeling, and don't let it grow. And usually I just pray to Krishna, like knowing I don't deserve his mercy, because this is not the right mentality to have, but please, 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 give me your mercy. Help me through this big mountain.
Thank you for this class. I really like the point you said, how envy actually works. It's like when I think about myself and think about someone else, and then I want it, or I'm angry that someone has something that I don't have. And if we just take ourselves from the middle, everything becomes alright. It's amazing, actually. And much introspection. I guess my question is, what to do if someone told me the other day that introspection is actually a gift. To think deeply is a gift. And some people have it, some people probably can develop it, but they just don't have it. So, what to do if I don't have it?
That's a tough one, because any kind of growth in Krishna consciousness almost relies on you to be introspective. It's a very big part of our Krishna conscious growth. And if you have someone that you take shelter of, at least some mentor, some guide who knows better, then even if you don't have introspection, if you have that kind of shelter, then they will direct you. Even if we can't see it for ourselves, they'll tell us. But for someone who doesn't have that and doesn't have introspection, I don't know. It's very difficult. I think continue chanting, prasadam, reading, and then hopefully that will come. Or hopefully it comes when we take shelter, when we get guidance. I think I noticed that by reading the books, actually it can create that mindset. Because if you read regularly, you're constantly faced with all this philosophy, and it kind of forces you to be introspective. You know, we can't just be doing lip service or just, eye reading, or just taking in information, but we're not registering, like they're talking about us. When we talk about envy, it's not just the person in the book, it's us. These instructions are all for us. So I think Shastra helps us create that introspection, but I actually don't know. Maybe Ram Roy Prabhu would know, or Arjunananda, or somebody else would know how to develop introspection if we don't have it.
You can't force it, like you can't force a plant to be mature, it has to grow. Maybe it could be applied, but similarly, Prabhupada said you should use common sense, and if you don't have any, then you should ask someone who does. So now we have a very great opulence in the Krishna consciousness movement, that we have devotees still present who've been practicing for many decades, as much as 50 or more years, and obviously their realizations, observations, abilities for accurate, correct ascertainment are greater than someone who has much less. So today is also the disappearance day of Srila Gauridas Pandit. So here are a couple of statements. Gauridas Pandit, the emblem of the most elevated devotional service and love of Godhead, had the greatest potency to receive and deliver such love. Making Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda the lords of his life, Gauridas Pandit sacrificed everything for the service of the Lord. So there's something in Chaitanya Charitamrita, more in the Chaitanya Bhāgavatam, and if you look at ISKCON Desire Tree, they've put together a nice compilation of many stories of Leela's. This is a short description of his disappearance. While doing bhajan in Dira Samhira Kunj in Vrindavan, Gauridas Pandit entered the eternal Gocharana Leela, cow-herding pastime of Krishna and Balaram. In Braja, he is Subal, one of the important 12 primary cowherd boys serving Krishna and Balaram. His samadhi is within the Shama Roy Temple compound in Dira Samhira, Vrindavan.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I actually didn't know much about Gauridas Pandit. Thank you. Are there any comments by anybody else? Okay, we'll end here. Gandharaj Srimad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.